So we've been a bit underway into season 6. I think it's a good time to make another one of these. Meta really hasn't changed that much since season 5.5, as you probably suspect, because the balance changes were a slap on the wrist to most characters and very minor buffs to others. So not too many major changes, but there are some changes worth noting. So let's get started. D tier is really gonna be mostly the same. Worst character in the game is Scarlet Witch. Um, I've talked about it I've talked about it a little bit on my stream on Twitch, but yeah, this character, like, I want to see them change her neutral game. I don't want to see them touch her ultimate anymore because she has the kind of ultimate that can become very overpowered very easily because it's a one shot, right? So I think her ultimate is fine the way it is. Don't touch that. Leave it alone. Where it gets high risk. It's high risk, but it's also high reward, right? That's fine. Keep it. I don't think they should reduce the risk on her ultimate because the reward is obviously like potential for a team wipe. I think they should do is make it so that she's just like not doing absolutely nothing outside of her ultimate, right? She's not a threat to like the majority of the game. Tanks get tickled by her, and most DPS can honestly beat her one-on-one. I'd like to see them lean into her like left click, right click balance. I think that just like her primary fire is very underwhelming. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing her team up with Strange just become her base kit. And even add more buffs on top of that. Like make her team up and like just a part of her normal kit. Maybe give it a cooldown that's probably shorter than what it currently is. Um Yeah, and make her right clicks a bit more consistent. They feel kind of clunky to use. I feel like making her right click a more reliable tool for damage and making her team up her base kit, this character could get a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind her being on the lower half of the tier list just because she's like a very foundational character, something that new players can pick up and get into very easily. So she doesn't need to be like top meta, but she's pretty terrible. And I think she could use some help. I'm actually going to plug myself because why not? Shameless. Get up here. Okay. So next up we've got Iron Man. Same story as last time. This character, slow, loud, pretty big hitbox. He just gets eaten by hitscan characters if hitscan is the meta. Not too much to say. He's not very threatening. His left clicks really don't kill you. Unless like you get hit by, like how many times do they have to left click you to kill you? Like 7? Like it's not a threat. Right? He would be a lot more threatening if he was like if his damage is just ramped up. Like he can honestly just use that, just a straight damage buff. His right click is really a non-factor against good players because if you're ever close enough to someone on Iron Man to right click them and you don't immediately die, then that player deserves to die and you probably would have killed them doing anything else. Right? Like if Iron Man is in a close enough range to use his like chest beam, he's instantly exploding. If anyone looks at it. He has low HP, low mobility, huge hitbox. Iron Man can use 300 HP, honestly. He's in a giant metal suit. Like, if he's not gonna have high damage, he has to have high HP. Or he's just a nothing burger character. What his abilities do? His abilities increase his stats a little bit, and he's like a rocket barrage that you will basically never use. His ultimate is terrible, just gets immediately eaten by Magneto, or shielded, or dodged, or cloak faded, like literally anything. Because its windup is half a day, and the projectile is super slow. Iron Man needs a lot of help. Like this character, yeah, this character just needs help. Next up is the floor version of him, Squirrel Girl. Iron Man is just the flying Squirrel Girl. Both these characters suffer from the same issue. Their damage just is not threatening enough. Their ultimates suck. Their cooldowns do nothing. They have huge hitboxes. It's the same situation for both these characters. I'd say like the problem with Squirrel Girl is it's the same as Iron Man, right? Like her cooldowns do nothing. She has a double jump. Okay, that's useless. Most of the time you double jump, you're just putting yourself in more danger because you're big and slow. So you're just like making yourself like a target practice for any hit scan character. And what else does she have? She has a double jump. She has that like reload on a cooldown. Like she could reload her abilities. Okay, so that's two abilities that are basically useless. And she has a snare, but the snare is awkward to use. And even if you hit someone with it, they can still like do things. Like all it does is just stop their movement. So like it's very good against melee characters, like BP or like Wolverine or whatever. But like against a tank, Strange, he's gonna put up shield up, he's fine. Mag, he's gonna put up shield up, he's fine. Alright, like Emma, like any other character, this thing's doing nothing. And you're most likely not hitting it on high value targets. Unless you're just like putting yourself in a very compromised position to do so. So it's just like, she's just bad. Her ultimate is horrible. Worst ultimate in the entire game. Why? Because you can just shoot it. Hela can like 3-shot it. It's terrible. Next up is the Torch. Torch, his buffs really just neutered him. I mean, sorry, his nerfs really just neutered him. Like, this guy was like top of the meta a few seasons ago, but now this character's like actually unusable. He just does nothing. He's a mosquito. He's really the same as Iron Man, just like a little bit better. Because Torch does have a better ultimate. But like outside of that, he's just Iron Man. Torch could also use some help. Like if you're gonna remove the melee tech and make it so that he has so much downtime in between his clusters or whatever those like his left click is called, you have to make when he is doing stuff meaningful. Like not only does he have like so much downtime where he's just like standing around waiting for his abilities to come back, but when he does have his abilities, they're not really doing that much anyways. So it's just like just another nothing burger character. After Torch, we've got Widow, the vibes merchant herself. I feel like this doesn't really need much explanation. I put her higher than the other ones beneath her, just because I do think she's better than those characters when played properly. But like on average, the value you're getting out of this character is next to nothing. And the time that you put into Widow, if you put even like half of that into Phoenix, you'd be getting double the value. Like Widow just requires way too many resources just to do like a slightly above average job as a DPS. Like even when like the enemy team, like if I'm like playing ranked, if the enemy team is running Widow Mantis and their Widow is cracked, I still don't really care that much. Like I'm not really that scared. There's so much mobility in this game, so hitting headshots is very difficult. There's lots of cover to play around, shields, dive tanks. Like, I'm not really that scared of a damage boosted Widow at all. The only really scary thing about her is her ult. Her ult can catch you off guard very easily and just one-shot you straight up. Sorry about that. I got a phone call. But anyways, what I was saying was that Widow, like the only really scary thing about this character is her ultimate, because it can one-shot you and catch you off guard really quickly. And also her like kick cooldown, which is a pretty like hard CC that's pretty easy to land. But it's only really scary if you're like a low HP character. It's like a DPS or a support. If you're a tank, I think that's what they're thinking. But yeah, Widow, not very great. Takes too much effort to get like very minuscule value. Next up is BP. Character got some buffs in the most recent patch, but it doesn't really matter. The meta hasn't really changed that much, and the meta doesn't favor this character. And the buffs were not good enough for him to shake that up in any real shape or form. That's really it. Buffs just weren't enough. This character honestly just needs a full rework. I don't really want to see his character become good again. He's pretty toxic when he's powerful, and when he's not powerful, he's just hot garbage. I think they just need to change the way this character works. He's a very feast or famine character. He's either just like rolling your entire lobby or just doing absolutely nothing. Next up is Blade, who gets buffed every single patch, and he's still horrible. No, not too much to say. I mean, like the Netty just keeps buffing this character little by little every single season. He's just terrible, and that's not changing. They just need to do something major. Give him huge buffs. I want to see this character that's been out for what, 4 seasons now? Leave the D tier. Like, please. Like, this guy in Phoenix were released in the same season. And you're gonna see where Phoenix is. It's nowhere close to this guy. Can we please buff this character? Meaningfully. No more micro buffs. Make his ult charge twice as quickly. Something huge. I want to see this character be decent. He's been horrible since the moment he's touched the game. And he was like one of the most hyped characters that we had. This guy never woke up from his sleep, bro. He's been sleeping this whole time. Alright, finally, to round out the D tier, I got Magic. Magic, she's just really not in the meta. I don't think she's a terrible character, but like, she's just a terrible pick right now. Like, if you're running Magic, for one, you need to have the Strange team up. If you don't have the Strange team up, she's like actually dog poo. But you need to have the Strange team up to even be like a viable contender, like to even like be even worth paying attention to. And Strange isn't very good. And then even with the Strange team up, she's still not very good. Like, there's like really no scenario to pick Magic at all. Like, if you want to play a melee DPS, there's a lot better options. She still has damage fall off on her sword. Why? Why does a melee character have damage fall off? That doesn't make any sense. Alright. First character up in the... Oh, and I didn't have to do this for this tier, but for the next tiers, you'll notice that I'm gonna place the characters in order from tank, DPS, and support in that order. So if I put a tank in front of a support, that doesn't mean that I think the tank is better than that support. I'm not comparing across roles, because I don't think that's a very fair comparison. I'm comparing within roles. So this whole tier is just DPS, so it doesn't matter. But like if I had a support in this tier, it would be at the bottom. But I'm not saying that Adam is worse than all these characters, because he's not. But I'm just putting it in order of the roles: tank, DPS, support. So starting out the C tier, Adam, right? I'd say he's still probably the worst support in the game. But this is with a caveat. Because by being the worst support in the game, this is for ranked. Right? I think in tournament style, where you have 4 bans and 2 protects, this character is a lot better. Because I'd say he's probably here. Because, you know, in tournament style with 4 bans, a lot of supports are going to be banned. So that's where you find this character breaking through the cracks. Still only pickable in triple support. And with that being said, most triple support alternatives are not banned in ranked. Ever. And I'd say almost all the other triple support alternatives are better than him. Maybe not Ultron, you could argue. Ultron could be argued as worse. I could see that. I don't think I'm going to say that myself. Adam kind of struggles into the fast-paced meta of Gambit ulting. His healing's really subpar. His damage really is overrated. He gets out-damaged pretty easily by characters like Mantis, Invis. Yeah. Obviously, Ultron. His Soulbond cooldown is ridiculously long. It's 40 seconds, while Loki's runes are like 25. And even though I'd say in terms of value, they're pretty comparable. So that's, and he has the same cooldown as Rocket Raccoon. And I'd say Rocket Raccoon's Res Beacon is way more valuable than a Soulbond. Um, his ultimate's good. His ultimate's been power crept like hell. It really doesn't take that much skill to use anymore. Like, all you gotta do is just not put yourself in danger when using it. But so long as you get it off, your whole team's coming back basically full HP. So, like, the skill gap in his ultimate's basically gone. But he's still horrible in ranked because he's unusable in 2v2. Sorry, in 2v2. And in triple support, there's just better options. And those options are almost always open. So there's really no reason to run Adam, ever. He has no mobility. He doesn't have that great of self-defense either. Because if you're saving his heals for himself, then you're not healing your team. Yeah, pretty bad character. Ultron's alright. Same situation as Adam. It's like, if you have Gambit, Loki, Invis, Mantis, Cloak and Dagger, Rocket, Luna, now Deadpool, like if you have all these characters open, there's just no reason to play these two. It's only once you get to tournament style where 4 supports can be banned, right? So imagine Gambit, Loki, Invis, and Mantis, all 4 of those characters are banned. Okay, well, what are we left with? Cloak and Dagger, Rocket, Luna. Now we can see an Ultron and Adam fit their way in there, right? We can get like a, Luna, Rocket, Adam comp. That's triple support backline. That works, right? Or like Cloak and Dagger, Jeff, Ultron. That works, right? So it's like, it's only one, those like top tier supports are not in the question. That's when these characters can be considered, but they just fall so flat compared to the top tier supports. I mean, you'll know that. This is not like, I'm not saying anything crazy here. If you've played with or as these characters on your team, you know where their shortcomings are. Whereas the top tier supports really don't have many weaknesses. Ultron did get some pretty decent buffs recently, but like it just doesn't matter. Cause like, yeah, like if you pour a water bottle in a bowl, it still doesn't compare to an ocean. And that's what characters like Gambit are. You can keep pouring water bottles into a bowl, but I mean, you gotta take some water out of the ocean if you want to compare these characters. Next up, I'd say is Jeff. Jeff is just like, I'd say he's better than these other two, marginally, but he's still very mid. He doesn't really have any burst healing. His ultimate is pretty bad. Jeff is just like the survivability support. Like he's very, very hard to kill, but that's really it. Like anything that else that Jeff does, another support does it better. The only niche Jeff serves is just being hard to kill. So sometimes I do play Jeff if I'm just like dying on repeat because I have no help. and like the whole entire enemy team is just focusing me, I'll just play Jeff. And then I'll just never die again. So then now that the enemy team's still focusing me, they're just wasting their time, which is value. Because the rest of my teammates can just continue doing what they're doing, not peeling for me, but killing the enemy team, while I'm just playing my own life. And then just like distracting 1 to 2 people. While also like getting some decent heals in, because Jeff has an infinite range laser as a heal that pierces all targets. So pretty easy to get healing on people that are not paying you any mind. But like in any other scenario, why play Jeff? There's really no reason. I'd say that's the last support for C tier. First DPS in C tier is Storm. Storm is really only good in the Brawl versus Brawl mirror, and that's it. In any other scenario, Storm is terrible. But what's keeping her out of D tier is because of the Brawl versus Brawl mirror. She's actually a very good pick in that scenario, but Brawl's not meta to begin with, so you're not really gonna be facing Brawl that often. And then if you're facing Brawl, you're probably not playing Brawl also. So yeah, she has a purpose, but it's very rare that that comes up. I don't think she really needs buffs though. I wouldn't buff Storm. Punisher's next. Punisher, he has a fat hitbox. He's food to characters like Phoenix, Hela, Hawkeye, Bucky. Like any character that's rewarded by hitting shots, like greatly rewarded by hitting their shots. Namor, like this he just falls over and dies. His damage isn't really threatening unless you're just like standing exposed in the open for like an extended period of time, which I mean, you deserve to die in that scenario. His ultimate's not that threatening, honestly. Invisible Woman ult counters it. Mag ult counters it. And that's really enough, because those characters are almost in every single game. He's also very vulnerable when he's ulting. I'm pretty sure he gets physically bigger, but don't quote me on that. But what is true is that he does actually lose movement speed. So he gets slower, and that makes him easier to hit. So he's a big, slow target when he's ulting. So yeah, he has big guns, but if you like don't fear his weapons and actually shoot back at him, you'll be surprised how easy he is to kill out of his ult. And yeah, there's the combo with like Punisher ult, Rocket ult to make it so that 1, he does more damage, and 2, he's harder to kill because he has the overshields. But Phoenix Mag just absolutely mops the floor with him. Phoenix Mag ult will beat Punisher Rocket ult every time. So you're trading 2 ults for 2 ults and you're getting a kill. So it's just like, why even play this character? The next DPS and final DPS in C tier I'll say is Mr. Fantastic. This character doesn't really excel at anything, but he's not like horrible. He just kind of exists. He's pretty annoying. He's hard to kill. That's it. He's just a hard to kill DPS. And he stays alive a lot, so he's just dishing out lots of damage. Because he does a surprising amount of damage if you know how to like weave your punches throughout the entire enemy team by like swiping your mouse across your screen. But he's not super threatening. But I definitely would not say he's on this tier of terrible. Because these characters are just non-doctors. Like Mr. Fantastic can definitely like make his presence known in a lobby. Whereas the other characters beneath him are just like, I forgot you were even in the game. This game felt like a 6v5, honestly. The enemy team had a BP. That's how these characters feel. Whereas Mr. Fantastic is like, okay, like I had to like show some respect to this guy. or he will kill me. But every character above him is much better. So you're just like kind of handicapping yourself on Mr. Fantastic, but he's still not terrible. First tank on the list is gonna be Penny. I think she's the worst tank in the game right now after her nerfs. Nerfs being one, she had a 50 health decrease 2 patches ago, and in the very most previous patch, she lost her Rocket Network team up. So I think the combination of those two nerfs, with the Rocket Network loss being a pretty big nerf to this character, I think she is the worst tank in the game. She kind of just does nothing again. Because before she served the niche of just being like hard anti-dive, right? Because if you have a rock on your team, he has a nest with his res beacon, which is just pumping out mines, negating melee characters. Then Penny now then had 2 mines, like 2 nests that were pumping out mines, also negating melee characters. And on top of that, all 3 of those nests were providing healing and overheal. Now it goes from 3 nests down to 1. So she lost like 66% of her like nest power in just 1 nerf. That's humongous. And she already wasn't like insane top of the meta. I think last video I had her in the B tier. And I think that's where she belonged. But like now, like she's just horrible. Is she unusable? No, I don't think any tank this season is really unusable. I think Penny is also pretty immune to being unusable, just because of her like cheese factor with her mines. Like you can always find a way to get value on Penny, and especially with the fact that on certain maps she is pretty viable, like Central Park. I think that's what the map is called, the vampire map with the hybrid, the first capture point and then the payload after. She's pretty good on that map. So like she's a map specific character that can find value on her good maps, but on her bad maps, she's like actually horrible. So it's just like most of the time you're better off picking something else. And even in her best scenarios, you still might be better off picking something else. So there's really no way I can put her above any other tank. Her left click is garbage, her ult is garbage. Her grapple is still bugged. It's been like that since launch. This character needs help. Next up is Strange, which might be surprising, especially because he got some recent buffs, but Strange is just like there's some layers to this, right? So for one, Strange's ult is pretty mid, right? It gets shielded, he gets booped, he gets stunned, he gets slept, he gets frozen, he gets defensive ulted like Luna or Cloak and Dagger or Mantis or Invis or anything, right? Like his ult is so hard to get value out of. And then on top of that, and Marvel Rivals is a game that revolves around ultimates, right? So if you're not getting value out of your ult, it's very hard to justify playing the character you're on. But on top of that, if you're on Doctor Strange, that means no one else can play Doctor Strange. And what I mean by that is, in overtime or in a clutch scenario, if one of your teammate dies and needs to swap Strange to Portal, but your Chud self is playing Strange, no one can do that. So now no one can TP until you die. And what good teams will do is save you for last. They'll just kill everyone else and then kill you, so that your team can't Portal. And Portal's like a top 3 ability in the game. Only thing that Strange is useful for is Portal. So if you are playing Strange and preventing your teammates from portaling back to point, you are throwing again. Yes, you are throwing again. Strange is only good if you're just like already steamrolling and you have no use for the portal. You're just like hitting all your ults because you're playing against robots and no one's punishing you. Then fine, play Strange. But if the enemy team has brain cells and they go Wolf, Iron Fist, Angela, Emma, Thing, like literally any of this guy's character counters, this character's in a wheelchair. And you're making it so your team can't Portal. It's just a double whammy of garbage. Alright, next I'd say is the Hulk. Hulk got some buffs in the last patch. Last video I had him in D tier, which he definitely belonged in because he was a horrible throw pick with no purpose. But this patch, I think he does get a little bit better. I have him above two other tanks now. He was dead last time. Now he's third to last, so that's an improvement. And he also went up a tier. He went from D to C, but I still don't think he's that great. It's nice that he is immovable in his Monster Hulk form now. That's good. And I've definitely noticed that in my games where I'm facing as a Hulk, where it's like if I'm playing Invis and I try to push and I'm like, oh damn, that doesn't work anymore. And then I die. But like he's still just like very hard to get value out of. And he's still a melee character. And melee characters are not very good right now. There's only a very select few melee characters that are viable, and that's because they're overtuned. But like for like the balanced melee characters, which I think Hulk is a balanced character, he just can't do anything into the meta. Right? There's nothing else to really say. I don't think he needs any more buffs, to be honest. I just think that the meta needs to change. I think that the top characters just need to be nerfed. And if that happens, I think Hulk will actually be very good. Can't say the same about Strange and Penny. I think those characters will stay pretty bad. But I think Hulk will actually be very good if the meta were to change. Alright, that's the end of my C tier. So starting off my B tier with supports, I have Luna Snow. Sorry, did I say B or C? B tier. That's what I meant if I didn't say that. So I have my B tier with our supports. We have Luna Snow. Luna Snow she's an interesting case. She's very similar to what I was saying about Adam and Ultron. And I didn't say it about Jeff, but it applied to Jeff as well. Where it's like in tournament format, you'll see these characters more because there's 4 bans and those bans are most likely going on support characters. So that's how you end up getting these ones on your team. But in ranked, where it's only 2 bans, those bans are most likely, one of them will probably be on Gambit if you don't have a Gambit player. If you do, then it's not going on Gambit, and then Gambit will be one of your supports, and then your second support will probably be Loki, so you're never seeing this character. But, in ranked, you'll probably have a Gambit ban, and let's say you have a Gambit Invis ban, right? You want double support on your bans. You ban Gambit Invis. Okay, but we have characters that are better than Luna now. Luna's gotten a lot of nerfs. Like she's not the server admin, industry plant, whatever nickname she has, that she used to be. She hasn't been that way for a long time, actually. And if you still think this way, you're just stuck in the past. Open your eyes. Luna is not good. She's better than these characters, probably. Because at least she's viable in 2-2, whereas those 3 are not. But like, in tournament format, I'd honestly put her lower. Like, if I was talking about like pro play or MRC, I'd honestly have these 3 above her. She might be the worst support in the game. But in ranked, I'd say she's better just because she fits in 2-2. But she just really struggles. She's dive food. Her ultimate is the longest charging ultimate in the entire game, I think. I'm pretty sure. Because it's at 5k points. I don't think anything is higher than that. 5k ult points. And even at 5k ult points, her ultimate isn't like that groundbreaking anymore. Like, there are quite a few ultimates that I'd say are better than Luna Snow's. Quite a few support ultimates that I'd say are better than Luna Snow's ult. Gambit ult, Loki ult, Cloak and Dagger ult. I might even argue Mantis ult. She's pretty mid. She got a snowball buff. That was pretty nice, but good Luna Snows were hitting their snowballs anyway. So that didn't really change anything. And the Self Flake was so blown out of proportion. Like, it is not that good of an ability. Like, you have to do like 1,000 allied healing to heal yourself back to full if you're low. Like, it takes forever. It's not doing anything. The damage boost is nice though. When I snowball someone on Luna, I self flake myself for 10% more damage, but it's still not like groundbreaking. Like her buffs that she got not too long ago were deserved, and she's still bad. Back then she had like a 44% win rate. she was terrible, and she's still terrible. I don't think her win rate is above 48 yet. But just by the fact that she's viable in 222, I'm gonna put her in the B tier. But I don't think you should be picking Luna in ranked in like any scenario. There's almost always gonna be better supports available. Um, like the only scenario I can think of is like if your team bans Gambit Invis and the enemy team bans like Cloak Loki. I've never seen that happen, but if that were to happen, then pick Luna Snout. Maybe. But like outside of that, there's just better options. Um, next up, that's the only support I'm gonna have in the B tier. Next up, I have Wolverine. Um, Wolverine's pretty niche by the caption of the B tier, but he's still decent. He can still run some lobbies. I just think that Iron Fist is a better version of him because Iron Fist is not as vulnerable to Invisible Woman. Because if you're playing Wolverine and the enemy team has an Invis, you're just kind of doing nothing. Because the Wolverine's whole bread and butter is his kidnap, which is on a 12-second cooldown. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Invis's pull, which is on a 8-second cooldown, so it's shorter. Completely hard counters it. So if the enemy team's Invis or your Invis is just like paying attention and saving her cooldowns for Wolf grab, you just do nothing all game. You're actually just useless. His ult is actually pretty good though, and his ult low-key counters Invis. So it's like kind of like a back and forth matchup there, because Wolverine can just grab Invis out of her ult with his ult and cancel her ult by killing her outside of it. But like, I'd much rather a favorable neutral matchup than a favorable ultimate matchup. And Invis has the more favorable neutral matchup. So that makes it hard to justify playing Wolverine. If Invis is banned, Wolverine gets a lot better. But I'm not going to make this list based off of like target bans for your character, because that would change a lot of how this works. Because just the same way Invis can get banned, Wolverine can just get banned. So that doesn't really mean anything. Next up, Iron Fist. Like I just said, I think Iron Fist is just like the better version of Wolverine because he is not hard countered by Invis. But I do think that Wolverine has a better ultimate. Iron Fist has really, really good survivability though. So that's what kind of keeps him like competitive. Because he can just like continue to like poke at shield tanks that really can't fight him back, and then their shield are like useless against him. But so that would be like characters like Strange and Mag. But against Emma, he's fodder. Against Thing, it's a pretty bad match. Against Thor, he's fodder. Against Rogue, that's also like a bad matchup. So it's just like he has very specific scenarios where he's good, but then other scenarios where he's just like unplayable. So that's kind of what lands him in just like the B tier, which is like the middle of the tier list. Next up is Hawkeye. Last time I put Hawkeye C tier, and I still stand by that being relevant for 5.5, but I think for season 6, I think he's a bit better just because a lot of dive. Well, I won't say that. I won't say a lot of dive. I'll just name them. Angela and DD got nerfed, and those were like two of his biggest counters, if not his two biggest counters. So that makes him a lot better. They didn't get gutted, so like Angela and DD are still favorable into Hawkeye and keep them in check. But with them being a bit worse, you'll see them less often, and they'll be less oppressive against them when they're present. So that makes Hawkeye a bit stronger. But I still think that Hawkeye is very overrated in his strength. And I think that comes from the fact that he's a noob stomper kind of character. kind of like if you play Clash Royale, like the Mega Knight, where like bad players think Mega Knight is super broken because it just obliterates them, but good players understand that Mega Knight has blatant weaknesses that could be exploited. It's really just like a knowledge and game sense check. That's what Hawkeye is. If you know how to beat Hawkeye, he's not really that big of a threat, right? Play corners, don't peek out unless it's necessary, run shields, get in his face. Hawkeye's not a problem. But if you just like allow the Hawkeye to do whatever he wants, that's when you get Hawkeyes dropping 40 finals, right? So it's just a matter of if you know what you're doing. If you, with the higher in elo you get, the less Hawkeye you're gonna see. And most of the time, at least in my games, if I see a Hawkeye out of spawn, they're switched off by the end of the game. Because people in my elo are smart. And they know that if you have a Hawkeye, this is how you beat it. Right? Hawkeye is just like a character where if you don't do your due diligence, he'll just do whatever he wants in your game, and then that's why he'll seem super strong. But he's really not that strong on paper. You don't see his character in any pro matches, and there's a reason for that, because pros are the smartest characters or smartest players we have, and they know what they're doing. And they know how to exploit characters that have weaknesses. Next up I say Spider-Man. I think I also had Spider-Man C tier, but I don't stand by that. I do think I underrated Spider-Man in my last tier list. I do think he's definitely a B tier character. He's also kind of like a feast or famine character, similar to Black Panther, but I do think he feasts a lot greater and he famines a lot less, if that makes any sense. Like he's not as extreme. A good Spider-Man can really just run a lobby, especially on certain maps like Hell's Heaven with that I don't know what the specific like sub maps are called within the King of the Hill, but I'm sure the Spider-Man players know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Spider-Man can definitely get a lot of value. There's no other character in the game that can really just get in, take 75% of someone's health off, and then get out. He's not gonna just like get in and just like instantly one-shot somebody. Like if you're trying to do that in Spider-Man, you're playing it wrong. Like you need to be active, right? You need to be in and out, in and out, in and out. Like you know, a pep. Like what's the word here? Like you need to be a pest, right? A pest. If you're dying constantly as Spider-Man because you're overextending for kills, you're just throwing the game. Because a dead Spider-Man has no presence, no threat, nothing. But if you are staying alive, like low death, Spider-Man is the best way to play Spider-Man. You're staying alive, but you're just continuing to pester the enemy's backline, right? You'll eventually catch them on low HP or low cooldowns, and you'll get rewarded for it. But if you are always dead because you're always trying to be in 1v1, just going and murder the whole support line because that's what DB is supposed to do, you're just gonna do nothing. All right, you need to bide your time on Spider-Man. Be patient on Spider-Man. You can be anywhere you want to be, so just wait for the right opportunity and strike then. That's how you play Spider-Man well. Next up is Namor. Namor got some pretty decent buffs. We also got some like compensation nerfs to his team up. And I don't remember where I put Namor last time. I think I put him in A tier, but I lucky overrated Namor. Like how I kind of underrated Spider-Man, I think I overrated Namor. I think he should have been B tier last time, and I think he's still B tier now. His team up is good, but he's just not very good. Like he doesn't have a humongous presence in the game. I think without the team up, he's definitely like B tier. I'm sorry, C tier. Like he's around this tier with no team up. But you're never really playing Namor without the team up. And the buffs that he got were trying to like incentivize that kind of like dry Namor. That's what it's called. Like what name without a team up is dry Namor. That dry Namor usage. But I don't think that's enough. I think they just need to like make him a team up anchor, stop giving him more new abilities, and just buff his kit. Because right now, like dry Namor is just very bad. Um, and even with the team up, like the Hela Namor team up, I'd much rather just Hela plus something else, like Hela plus Phoenix, Hela plus Star Lord, Hela plus Bucky, Hela plus DD, Like I'd much rather that than Hela anymore, honestly. Like the team up is not enough, is not worth it to run this character. Next up is Moon Knight. Moon Knight's pretty decent. Just kind of similar to like Spider-Man indeed in a BP. He's a feast or famine character. Sometimes he just goes insane, getting his ult every 30 seconds, dropping 50k damage, and sometimes just doing absolutely nothing. And that's mostly comes down to like the enemy's team comp. He's a very like counter picky kind of character, where it's like if they're running hard dive, you just need to get off this character. But if they're running like slow brawl or bunker, then it's like this character goes crazy. So that's really all there is about Moon Knight. Not too much to say. Like I'm not really upset if I have a Moon Knight on my team unless he's just like getting plowed. And that would only be because the enemy team is countering him. And then the last DPS I had in the B tier is Psylocke. Last tiers I pretty sure I were in the A tier. And I think I also overrated Psylocke a little bit. Like if you play Psylocke, I feel like this is pretty understandable. If you don't play Psylocke, this might be surprising. But this character really fell off. Her nerfs hit her pretty hard. Her neutral game got nerfed a while back, so that was always pretty mid to begin with. And her ultimate was the only thing that was like she was holding on to. It was crutch, right? Her ultimate was her crutch that she was holding on to. It was the only thing keeping her viable. And her ultimate charge rate got nerfed. And now it feels really slow. Like before, you can get her ult. You could have gotten her ult very quickly. Like I saw Psylocke before the nerf getting their ults before supports. In that scenario, it's really strong. But now her ult just takes so slow that the enemy team supports already have their ultimate, and it's just like you're just not gonna do anything. And then Loki's runes also hard counter ult, and Loki's hard meta. So it's just like this character really struggles. If Loki's banned, then she's like okay. But there's just better options. She's not bad. Like she's not a bad character by any means. You can still pop off on Psylocke, and if you are a Psylocke main, I'd say keep playing her honestly. There's nothing wrong with Psylocke. But there are better characters. They're just better characters. She just feels a little weak compared to where she used to be. As for tanks, first tank up I'm gonna say is Thor. There's that whole meme going around that Thor's a D tier character. That's not even close to the truth. This character bullies low mobility tanks. This character is the king of 1v1s. He's strong. He's not OP. I'd say he's very balanced. Thor feels balanced. He still gets obliterated by focus fire and CC, so he has exploitable weaknesses. But if the enemy team or your team is not taking advantage of those weaknesses, he goes crazy. I've seen it in my own games several times. If my DPS are running double dive, Thor's gonna just mop up my whole team. But if my DPS swap to Bucky, Thor starts feeding, right? So it's just like he's a matchup dependent character. He can get a lot of good value if you're not doing your due diligence in countering him. His ultimate is also bad though, and I think what they could do with Thor is make his ultimate better and make his displacement a bit worse, because his displacement is kind of obnoxious. It makes characters like Strange just like hard or useless. But his ultimate is just like super bad. And it's most of the time you're suiciding when you use it. Especially because like characters like Invis can just like put her shield up last second and just fully block the entire ultimate. It's just like crazy. Loki runes fully negates all the damage. You'll still get stunned, but it'll fully negate all the damage. Gambit can just dash out of it. It's rough to get value out of that ability. So, Cloak and Dagger can just fade it. The windup is super long. He puts himself in harm's way to get it off. It's tough. Next up is Venom. Venom's just like, I'd say very middle of the pack for tanks. He might very well be the middle of the pack. I don't know how many tanks there are exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, so he's not quite middle of the pack, like numerically. But I think balance-wise, he is very middle of the pack. I don't hate seeing a Venom on my team. there are better options, and I'm sure Venom players understand that, but he's not bad at all. A good Venom can pop off, a bad Venom will feed. Not too much to say about Venom, honestly. Solid, middle of the road character. He gets stuff done. Next up, it's Rogue. I think now that players have like learned how to play Rogue, she's definitely scary in the right hands, but at the same time, she can also just feel like a non-factor. Like against Poke, she's useless because she's a melee character with low range and very low mobility. So she's gonna have to like waddle up to a Hela to try and do anything against her, which is just a death sentence. But against like much closer range characters, she's strong. She's also very hard to kill. She's like a very survivable tank. Like I don't know what it is about her. I don't know if it's her hitbox or like what some of her abilities, because I don't play her, so I don't know exactly like the very intricate nuances of all of her abilities. But I just know that she's very hard to kill from a support's point of view. Because I've seen my rogues like run deep into backlines, just like somehow come out alive. And I know if there was any other tank doing that, they would not survive. I think it has to just do with her smaller hitbox, making it harder for her to hit. But she's good. Then last character in the B tier, I'll say, is the Thing. Thing, I think he's definitely come up a lot. He hasn't really gotten any buffs per se, but I just think that in the meta, he's a lot stronger now. He's good into melee characters. We all knew this. Yeah, I mean, he absolutely sucks against Groot. So Groot just like hard counters Thing. But Thing is hard to kill, especially with the Invis team up. He's a big target that takes a lot of damage, so your supports will love him because they just build support ults really fast off this guy. Yeah, Thing's solid. I don't hate a Thing. Against, double poke like Hela Phoenix, I don't want to see a Thing on my team. But against like DD Star-Lord, go Thing, bro. Go crazy. So starting out the A tier, I'm gonna put Rocket Raccoon. This is for the sports, right? I'm doing sports first. Yeah, Rocket's decent. He got a small nerf. I think the wall climb, the the discourse around the wall climb nerf is so blown out of proportion. It is not that big of a nerf. Like, albeit, I don't think they should have nerfed him in that way. But I do see some people arguing that he didn't deserve nerfs at all, which is completely delusional. But I do think they should have nerfed something else. I don't think they should have taken that route. But at the same time, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, how often are you really wall climbing in a game? Because when you're wall climbing, you're not healing, you're not damaging, you're not doing anything. I don't know, maybe I'm just not playing Rocket Raccoon like everyone else, but I'm not wall climbing that often in a game. So this nerf really doesn't do anything. Does it make him feel a bit worse? Sure. But I don't know. I also don't notice Rocket Raccoon's wall climbing that much either. At least when I'm like facing against one. I don't know. Maybe I'm playing a different game than everyone else, but I feel like the reaction to this nerf is not that necessary. Right? That's like if they nerfed Luna's ice skating speed. You're not ice skating in the middle of a team fight. It doesn't matter. Okay, next up is Cloak and Dagger. Um, she got some buffs in the last patch, and I think she got way better. She used to be like bottom 2 support in the game, but now she's like very much pickable. And I've played her a lot this season actually, way more than probably any other season. Albeit I didn't play during the Cloak and Dagger meta, so take that comment with a grain of salt. But her double heal sheet makes it so she gets her ult a lot faster, and also makes it so she's more active in a team fight. Because one of the issues with Cloak and Dagger last season is that her ult just felt like it took way too long to get. But now that she has the double sheet and her heal bubble gives you an instant 65, it just feels like she gets her ult way quicker than before. And on top of that, she's just a lot better at healing her team and keeping them alive. As well as her ult is still decent. Actually, I'm not gonna use that word because her ult is more than decent. Her ult is good. She has a good ult, right? I think it's the longest lasting support ult in the game at a little less than 11 seconds. I don't think her ult is a full like round number, but she does have the longest lasting ultimate in the game, and it's the second highest healing if we're not counting Ultron's ult. Um, so yeah, she's good. And I haven't even talked about Cloak yet. Cloak also gets the double sheet with his Discord, which I don't use as often. I only really use that when I'm ulting, or like if my other support is ulting, because then I don't need to be healing, because my whole team's healed. So then I'll throw like a double Discord sheet. But yeah, Cloak's Fade is a very good ability. You can use it to dodge Jeff ult, Phoenix ult, Mag ult, Bucky ult. Can't use it against Namor ult because you're Earthbound. But BP ult, like against those like, those one shot, not like one shot in the sense of like you're getting hit once and dying, but those like, I don't know what you would call that. Those like single instance ultimates that do damage in one instance. The Fade is really good at dodging that. Yeah, Cloak and Dagger are very viable. But I would say that I'm only really playing Cloak and Dagger if um two of the S tier supports are banned. So like I'd be playing like Gambit Cloak if Loki Invis is banned, or like Invis Cloak if Gambit Loki are banned, or like Cloak Loki if Gambit Invis are banned, stuff like that. Like you'll see when we get to the S tier supports that there's still better options in Cloak right now, and if they're not banned, you should be playing those ones instead. But she's definitely a strong pick right now. So our first, the DPS is gonna be DD. He's still decent. Like he got those nerfs, but he's still breathing. He's barely hanging on though. I feel like I could see an argument for him being here, and I honestly might listen to that. But I do think DD is still viable. I don't think he should be your go-to pick anymore, but still a good pick. I think any further nerfs though, and this character is dropping tiers. Like he's barely hanging on to this A tier. Like if there was an A minus, I'd put him there instead, or like a B plus. Because I don't think he's quite on this level, but like he's barely holding on to this level. But yeah, everyone knows that DD does. I don't have to go into too much detail about that. Next up is Bucky, who I do think is a firm A tier. Yeah, we all know what Bucky does as well. I don't really need to ramble on about Bucky. Just hit your hooks. And yeah, that's Bucky for you. Very good against Groot though, because his damage is great at breaking his walls. Next up is Star-Lord, who's gonna be our last DPS in the A tier. Yeah, Star-Lord is he's a very good DPS, top 3, but I do think that he kind of pales in comparison to the top 2, which we'll see in the S tier. But if one of those 2 DPS are banned, I think Star-Lord is a very good pick. His ultimate's strong, and that's really it. He just has a really good ultimate. Combos very well with Gambit ult as well, especially due to the fact that Gambit's ult healing was reduced. So in a Gambit ult mirror, if one team Gambit ults and then has a Star-Lord on top of it, that Star-Lord ult's ripping through everything. So yeah, Star-Lord's strong. His neutral is a little mid, but his ultimate makes up for it. First tank in the A tier is gonna be Cat, who some people are so convinced is horrible, But Cap is still very good. Like he has a support ult as an ult. That already makes him at least viable. But I think that the buffs that he got aren't that big of a deal. But it does make it so his charges his ult faster because he can use that, I don't know what it's called, like energy saw, something like that. Like he can throw the shield fast more often, right? So 25% more often. So it's gonna help charge his ult a bit faster. And he's not really the, backline harasser that he used to be. I find it most of the time if I'm playing support and enemy team has a cap, I'm just ignoring him. If I'm playing Cloak and Dagger, I right click before and I'm ignoring this guy. But he has a strong ult. He can get kills in, chaotic scenarios. And he's just kind of like he's a team player kind of character. He's not going to be, putting up humongous scores and getting huge frags, but he gets the job done. He can contest cart, he can stall, he has a support ultimate. He's good. He can contest flanks. He's good. He does the dirty work. That's what Cap does. Cap does the dirty work. He's not flashy, which is why a lot of people think he's bad because he's not flashy. And if it's not flashy, it's not good to like 90% of the player base. But Cap is good because he gets the dirty work done. Okay. Next up, Emma. Emma's good. She got some buffs, which I don't think she needed. But I don't think that propelled her anywhere differently. I put her in A tier last time. She's still A tier. Yeah, I mean, she just charges her energy up a bit faster, but that's not really that big of a deal. She's good into like front to back comps where she can have a constant 100 energy against like, spread out poke comps or dive comps. She really, really struggles. So like against a team comp like Cap Angela, like if you're playing Emma, you're just like doing nothing. But like against like Mag Strange, if for some reason you're playing that, Emma is really good. So yeah, Emma's a solid pick. Can't really go wrong with Emma most of the time because you're not going to see comps like full dive comps in ranked. You're really never going to see that. But in the in the scenarios where that does come up, please don't play Emma. You will do nothing. Her ultimate, I said this in the last video as well, is really good at countering Starlord ult because you can just hypnotize them up in the air and you can't really escape it, and then he's a free kill. And you should do that with all those other kind of characters that have those like transformation ultimates. So like Torch, Starlord, those ones that you can hypnotize and trade your ult for their ult and kill them. Her diamond form isn't really used for choke slams as much anymore. It's more so just to kind of survive. If you're just taking a lot of heavy fire, you diamond form and get the damage resistance because it's on a super long cooldown and you want to have that in those tight scenarios. Choke slam is just kind of a bonus where if you're using that ability to preserve your life and you can choke slam someone, that's just like a great scenario for you. But you don't want to be wasting that cooldown because it's just super long. Finally, rounding out the A tier is Angela. She's still good. She got a small nerf. She got a 50, I think it's a 50 shield health nerf. Not game changing. Her shield's really not breaking that often anyways. Unless she's like hard stalling point. But yeah, Angela is still Angela. She does the same thing she does last season. You could argue she's S tier. I think in pro play she might be S tier, but I think in ranked she's probably just closer to A tier. Just because there's less coordination. You basically never see full dive comp. So, and just strong. Okay, time for the S tier. First up, it's gonna be Invisible Woman. She got some honestly pretty substantial nerfs to her Guardian Shield. It does make her self-survivability a lot worse. but it's still probably the best at the support category. So we're going from far and above the best to like the best by a margin. Still the best. So it's very hard to justify not putting Invis in S tier. Her ultimate is still very good. Her healing is still very good. She charges are all incredibly fast. She has some of the best neutral utility out of all the supports in the game with her push-pull and her orb. She gets a lot of damage done if you know how to angle your shots through your team into the enemy team to cleave everybody, because it pierces everything. Invis is still great. I'm sure everyone already knows that. You've been seeing Invis in all your games, so I don't have to go into too much detail about that. Next up is Mantis, which apparently a lot of people don't understand why, but it's entirely because of triple support, right? Like Mantis is triple support. Without Mantis, triple support is not meta and never would have been, right? Mantis is what makes triple support, because while Mantis can't sustain a team in 2-2-2, when you have 2-1-3, the Mantis can, doesn't have to worry about healing as much, and her utility is just incredible, as well as her damage and her ultimate. Her only shortcoming is her healing output, which is made up by the fact that you have 3 supports already, so she doesn't have to do as much healing. So Mantis can damage boost the other DP, the only DPS, right? Because in triple support you only have 1 DPS. The Mantis can damage boost your DPS as well as dish out damage on her own, so that you basically have 2 DPS. So you're not really losing out on anything. As well as now you have a sleep, healing, and a support ultimate. It's busted. You basically just have a DPS with a support ultimate that can heal your team and damage your other DPS. It's busted. It's busted. Like, there's a reason why Mantis is like the most banned character in pro play. If there were less stingy DPS players that instant lock and never swap and actually ran triple support comp properly with a Mantis, this character would have been nerfed so many seasons ago. Because she's been S tier for a long time, right? If Mantis is in the game, there's no reason to be playing any of these other triple support options. Mantis is just so far above them in terms of value. And I haven't even mentioned her team up, which did get nerfed on Loki's end slightly. Still a very good team up, and still probably one of the best team ups in the entire game. Especially now that the Rocket team up lost Penny, and that was really the only contender as the best team up in the game. So she still might have the best team up in the game. Yeah. Mantis is very, very good and very underrated, because some people think she's terrible and needs buffs for whatever reason. Yeah, she's not pickable in double support, which is very unfortunate, because I would love to be playing her in the majority of my games, but I can't unless I have triple support or I'm throwing, and I will get flamed. But in triple, Mantis is just like a monster. Next up is Loki. This should really go without saying, right? I'm just gonna go ahead and put up Gambit, because that's the reason Loki's here. Gambit is still the best support in the game, though the nerfs really did absolutely nothing. They made his survivability a bit worse, and they made his ult charge a bit slower with the I don't know what his card abilities are called, but the EE, the bouncing heal, bouncing cards, is that what it's called? I don't know. But with the survivability nerf, like if I'm dueling a DPS on Gambit, I'm usually surviving with well over 200 HP. So a little bit of self-healing nerf, okay, what? Now I'm gonna survive with 100 HP instead? Like, I'm still surviving and winning that fight, so it doesn't matter. And in terms of like the ult charge nerf, it's not really that big of a deal. I haven't really noticed it that much, to be honest. So his ultimate, still incredible, still the best ultimate in the entire game. Yes, his ult does heal his team a bit less, but it's really not that noticeable. Like, unless you're just like hard feeding in his ult, then you'll get punished. And I have seen that. But if you're just like playing even a little bit carefully, doesn't matter. And the reason that Loki is up here is because Loki copies Gambit ult. So now you have 2 Gambit ults. Loki is still very good on his own though, don't get me wrong. Loki's still very good with Invis and still very good with Cloak and Dagger. And I play Loki in those scenarios. Loki gets his ult super fast. Loki's runes are super strong cooldown. Loki's damage is still a little bit threatening, even though it did get nerfed. It's a lot worse than where it used to be. It's still pretty good. He has solid survivability. He can go invisible. He can teleport. Loki's a really good character, and I think everyone knows that. I mean, Loki is banned in most games. Gambit and Loki. These characters are banned very, very often. So I think everyone's well aware of their strength. I don't have to convince anyone. Next up, Hela, who I have as the second best DPS in the game. Everyone knows what Hela does. Everyone knows why Hela's good. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about this. She needs a nerf, please. Next up, best DPS in the game, Phoenix. I'm also not gonna go into too much detail. She's just a better version of Hela, who's already a broken character. I went into exhaustive detail about why these two are the best DPS in the game in my last tier list, so if you really want to hear it, go watch that one. But yeah, I mean, Phoenix even got buffs a couple patches ago, which is ridiculous. These Hela Phoenix are the reason why hit scan are meta. It's the reason why a lot of characters are unpickable. Yeah. I mean, if you played against a good Phoenix or Hela, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I don't need to convince you. For some reason, some people think Phoenix is not good. I don't know which Marvel rivals they're playing, but the one that's made by NetEase, Phoenix is the best DPS in the game. I mean, there's just way too much going on in her kit. She has a hit scan, she has AoE, she can fly, she has iframes on her dash, her ultimate combos incredibly well with a lot of other ultimates as well, so it's very good on its own. She gets self-healing on spark explosions. Like, what does this character do? Her hitbox is tiny. Like, let's nerf this character, please. Properly. Like, I want to see these two out of the meta for a long time, because they've been meta for too long. And they're like literally gatekeeping so many other characters from being even pickable. Like, unpickable because of those two, unpickable because of those two, unpickable. Like, it's just like, dude, can we stop? Our tank, Mag. Mag is Mag. Everyone knows Mag. I'm not talking about Mag too much. Yeah, we know our Mag is up here. And finally, our last tank, best tank in the game, Groot himself. Groot is really, really strong and really, really impressive. His ultimate is super good. His damage is super good. His walls are super good in certain matchups, especially against characters like Thing. And his Iron Wall makes him, and like, I don't even know what you call that. What is that stats effect called? But he can't. Nothing can happen to him. You can't knock him back. You can't stun him. You can't anti-heal him. You can't pin him. Nothing. Can't freeze him. Can't sleep him. He's an unstoppable force. Oh, unstoppable. I think that's what it's called. That makes sense because he's an unstoppable force. Right? Like, when in his Iron Wall radius, he's an unstoppable force, and he gets so much value in the neutral out of his walls and his damage, and then his ultimate is also incredible. Like, this character has no weaknesses. He counters his counters with his Iron Wall, and he completely dominates his good matchups. Like, I ban Groot in my games. I don't want to see this. If someone's not hovering Groot, he's gone. Because Groot is just so good. Okay. And then finally, we're going to talk about Deadpool, which I don't have the 3 roles for him, so I'm just talk about them individually and place them where they go. So starting out with support pool, I would say he's probably around here. I think he's better than Luna, but I do think he's worse than these other options. He's a complicated character, so I'm not going to go into too much about his like specific abilities and utility, because I don't think most people will even understand them themselves. But just know that the way that he works is that he loses his ult charge on death, and you can level up his abilities using his comic book when you like gain enough XP for doing things. But he, even at his best, like the supports above him, like at his best, he can probably be here, but obviously he doesn't start as it at his best, so he's probably down here. Next up is DPS pool, which is horrible. DPS pool is really, really bad. I don't think he's quite D tier, but I do think he is probably worse than these characters. Like, I might put him above these characters, but still C tier. Like, he is bad. DPS pool is easily the worst version of Deadpool. I mean, just play him for yourself, right? Like, he just really kind of does nothing. You don't really feel his impact in the game, which is what I said about these characters. And then finally, Tankpool, which is the best version of Deadpool, I think is here. I think Tankpool is better than Emma and Kat, but a little bit worse than Angela. I think that Tankpool is a really strong, especially in the right hands. And I think once players learn how to play Deadpool, people will realize that he's up here. Um, yeah, that's the tier list. I'm gonna take him back off. Oh, I can't even do that. Okay, well, now I'll just put him right in the middle. Somewhere. I'll put him here. This is support pool for now. But yeah, that's the tier list. If you have any comments, leave them down below. I'll read them. Might not agree with you, but I'll read them and I'll respond. If you have questions, definitely leave those below. I'm always happy to answer questions. And yeah, thanks for watching.